If you will vote for me, then I promise you I will not let you down. I will fight for you every single day. I will win Indiana. I will win this primary. I will win this general election. And you and I together, we're going to change this country and change the world.
Confident Barack Obama speaking today at a town hall meeting in Munster, Indiana. Obama's trying to move on, of course, from the Reverend Wright affair and hoping to put the comments his former pastor made behind him. It has taken a toll on his campaign, no doubt about it. How much of a toll? Well, perhaps we'll find out Tuesday night. Still, Obama appears certain he will be the next president. Tonight, just days before the critical primaries, we continue to look beyond the sound bites to try to give you a look at what drives the candidates. Now, Barack Obama up close, beginning with the moment that made him famous. It was Boston 4 years ago at the Democratic National Convention when Barack Obama burst onto the national scene. His speech electrified the crowd.
In no other country on earth is my story even possible.
That story begins an ocean away from Boston, in Hawaii, with a boy named Barry.
We all remember when he was born, and at that time we knew it was little Barry.
Barack Obama was born August 4th, 1961. He was named after his father. Barack means one who's blessed by God in Swahili. Barack Obama Sr. grew up herding goats in a remote village in Kenya, but won a scholarship to study at the University of Hawaii. The woman who would be his mother moved with her parents from Kansas to Hawaii, where she met Obama's father in a Russian language class.
By all accounts, it was love at first sight. They, much to the chagrin of her parents, I think.
When Obama was 2, his father won a scholarship to study at Harvard. He left his young family behind and returned only once, when Barack was 10. It was Obama's mother's influence, as much as his father's absence, that would shape his life.
She really did a marvelous job of looking past superficial differences and understanding people at their core, and I think that that's an important part of who he is.
When Obama was 5, his mother remarried an Indonesian man, and a year later moved the family to Jakarta.
I think what he saw in Indonesia was the other kids who didn't have the privileges that he had, and he played with these other kids, but there was always an out for him.
At 10 years old, Obama returned to Hawaii to attend one of the state's most elite prep schools, Punahou School. He lived with his grandparents in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment while his mother stayed in Indonesia.
He struggled more with himself than anything because he felt abandoned. He felt left out.
He got mostly B's, sang in the choir, and wrote poetry, but his true passion was basketball.
You could tell that. He wanted to be accepted, and at the time, basketball was a place where it could be done.
It was off the court that he struggled with his identity.
He channeled his rebellion into his racial identity and trying to figure out how to cope with being a black American, having been raised in a primarily white household.
Obama says he tried drugs to numb his confusion, but he kept his grades high enough to get into college, and in 1979, he left Hawaii.
Anybody in their early 20s is trying to work at a lot of identity issues, and Barack was no stranger to that. Barack wanted to live in two worlds in a society that, up until that point, was telling you, no, you choose. You're going to live in the black world, the white world.
He graduated from Columbia and then took a job as a community organizer for a church-based group serving Chicago's public housing projects. But after a few years, he'd grown frustrated.
I think Barack made a decision that if he wanted to do some good, he'd have to have some power.
Obama applied to Harvard Law School and was accepted.
There was a certain quality of maturity that he projected that really impressed people in a place where everyone was quite impressive.
After his first year of law school, he became a summer associate at this Chicago law firm. Michelle Robinson, a Harvard grad and a lawyer, was assigned to be his mentor. Obama asked her out. She finally agreed.
One of the reasons why I respect Barack is that he understands to whom much is given, much is expected.
Obama would go on to become the first African-American president of the prestigious Harvard Law Review.
I think people can say that my election symbolizes some progress, at least within the small confines of the legal community.
Obama graduated magna cum laude from Harvard in 1991. He went to work for this civil rights law firm in Chicago and finally started to put down roots. He married Michelle Robinson, and they had 2 daughters, Malia Ann and Natasha.
There certainly is a sense of he wants to fit into a community, but there isn't any community that he neatly fits into. So he eventually chose the African-American community on the south side of Chicago by marrying a black woman and moving into that world and settling into an African-American church.
It's now well known Reverend Jeremiah Wright became his pastor. His sometimes angry gospel of black liberation theology was at times controversial, but for Obama, it was a place to belong. In Reverend Wright's church, he found a community of African Americans that he felt a part of.
Right.
And it helped him understand what it meant to be African American in America.
I think so. I think both of those things. But he's also an extraordinarily intelligent and charismatic guy, and Obama was drawn to that. So this guy had an extraordinary influence on Obama, and probably in a positive way.
But that relationship would come back to haunt him when just a decade after Obama began his political career as an Illinois state senator, he announced,
"My candidacy for President of the United States of America."
That young man who was searching so hard to find his identity would find himself on a journey toward the White House. Up close with Barack Obama. Among his other controversial statements this week, Reverend Jeremiah Wright also said that black and white kids learn differently.